Welcome to Earth Chats. In this show, we chat to leaders, influencers, and organizations who are passionate about making our Earth a better place. We are all aware of the dangers of pollution and how global climate change could impact our lives. Join us and listen to the conversation where leaders in making our world better will share their stories, advice, and opinions. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to join us and let's take hands to save our planet and make our world a better place.
Welcome everyone to Earth Chats. Today we are talking to Michelle Henley from Elephants Alive. Welcome to Earth Chats, Michelle. It's such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Will. It's great talking to you and your followers.
Well, it's great having you. Michelle, so how did you get involved with conservation and with Elephants Alive?
Well, it's been a long journey. So I've been working with elephants for over 25 years now. And it all started, when I was a child, I knew I had to do something in conservation and work in nature. So I took a long route by going to university for 12 years to become a qualified ecologist. And then I was fortunate enough to start working with elephants, and I haven't looked back since. So I would say it started with knowing as a child that I need to work in conservation.
Oh, that's amazing. Lucky that you could have, you started off in the direction you always wanted to be. That's such a blessing.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about Elephants Alive, the history, and how you became involved.
Okay, so when I was finished with my PhD, I started working in the associated private nature reserves to the west of Kruger, because one of the Timbavati landowners, Marlene McCay, who is now the chairperson of our charity, she invited me to start an elephant project in these reserves. And so in 2003, so we'd collected data in the area since 1996, but in 2003, we became Save the Elephants South Africa. And then we maintained that really good relationship and close ties with Save the Elephants, which we still have up to today. But in 2006, we decided to become more South African based. And so we formed a South African NGO called Elephants Alive. And that's basically when we made the switch from Save the Elephants South Africa to Elephants Alive. And that's just to, to get the support from not only the international community, but also South Africans.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me, your Elephants Alive, what is your purpose? What is your vision, your mission? What is it about?
Okay, so our mission is that we want to secure a future for elephants, but in relation to their habitat. And then we also want to foster really positive relationships between people and elephants, so a harmonious coexistence between people and elephants. And that's what drives all our activities. So our main, we've got 4 main activities. The first is that we collar elephants throughout Great Limpopo Transfrontier Park. And as you know, that straddles South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. And we've deployed over 180 elephant collars since 1998. And then we've also got an ID study, and that started in 1996, where we identify individual elephants so that we can understand how their social dynamics work and also get to understand population demographics. And then because we're South African based, we've also got a big tree protection study, where we use various mitigation methods to protect trees that people feel sentimental about or iconic tree species on the landscape from elephant impact. And then the last activity that we're involved in is drawing in the local community into our activities and into the research that we do, because, you know, unless all these conservation and protectionist approaches have the support of the community, they're not going to be very long-lived. So it's really important to integrate community in your activities.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, for a layperson like myself, I'm thinking about this tree conservation. How do you actually keep elephants away from a specific tree? Because I would think, as you know, luck would have it, that would be the trees that elephants love.
Yeah, so I mean, our tree species that we've been focusing on is marula trees, false marula trees, and then knobthorn trees, because, you know, those are those tall iconic trees in the landscape that people notice, and they're concerned about elephant impact to those three species because they're pretty favored by elephants as a food source. So in 2004, we just started monitoring elephant impact, and half of the trees we wrapped chicken wire around the stem, but in a specific way so that the tree can expand over time. I mean, it's quite important to do it correctly, and also to do maintenance, I'd say every 7 to 10 years on the wire netting. That in a large way stops elephants from bark stripping trees, which is quite a heavy and popular form of impact to those species. Then we also have got other methods, but the most successful method that we started trying in 2015 is actually using beehives, because elephants are scared of bees. And so to avoid the bees, they will avoid the big trees. And that's been really successful. It's quite labor intensive, but it's given us not only good scientific results, but also a very sweet outcome in terms of the honey that we can sell.
Unbelievable. That's such a clever idea. I see you have a large number of collaboration with academic institutions and stuff like that. How important are these for your organization?
They're very important because a lot of our staff, you know, we are a very small organization, but a lot of our staff is scientifically trained. And we do believe that, you know, all the work that we do should be rooted in proper data collection and scientific endeavors. So we've collaborated extensively throughout the world. So with almost every local university, and then with 29 international institutes. And in these collaborations, we're either sharing data sets, or we're sharing expertise, or we're training students to tackle certain research questions that we have, and then in that process actually get their degrees.
Oh, that's fantastic. Poaching, you know, poaching has always been an issue with conservation, and especially with elephants because of the ivory. So what is the current situation with poaching?
Well, I mean, the poaching has been probably the heaviest effect on elephant numbers. If you look at the past 100 years, we've had a 97% decline in the African elephant.
Apologies for the short interruption, but I do need to mention something. We really need to raise awareness about the dangers facing our environment. The Earth Chat podcast was started as a campaign to bring people together to save and protect our planet for generations to come. To make it easier for everyone to access our content and the advice shared by leaders in our mission for a better world, we have created a new website where you can access all our shows and featured articles. Visit us today on earthchats.bitmedia24.com, where you will find loads of interesting and insightful information, as well as tips and ideas of how you can participate in our mission of a better Earth. Here is that link again, earthchats.bitmedia24.com. Now, on with the show.
Tell me, Michelle, what is an iconic elephant, and how are you actually tracking these magnificent animals in Kruger?
Okay, so our iconic elephant usually is a large tusked elephant that has tusks that weigh more than 100 pounds per side. So that's about 60 kilograms. But, you know, an iconic elephant can also be an elephant that people recognize quite easily because it's maybe got a floppy ear. It just depends what the audience prefers. But to most people, an iconic elephant is a large tusked individual because these elephants are so rare. Most of them have been poached out in the past. And we particularly like collaring elephants that might be vulnerable to poaching or that make very interesting movements because they cross-border movers. So we then try and deploy these satellite collars on these elephants so that we can actually monitor their movements and look at their home range and get to understand how they take their decisions in day-to-day life.
That's awesome. So in terms of, I think, you know, iconic elephants helped us as well. In terms of communication and raising awareness, what do you guys do in that area? Because I think that is probably the most important thing that you have on your side, is to raise awareness among the public about what you're doing.
Yes, so that's an ongoing thing. So we don't only publish our results in scientific journals, but we honestly do believe in raising awareness on the plight of the African elephant in terms of how they're being decimated because of their illegal trade. We've got a very active Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, so that we can reach a wide audience. We also believe in education, and that's why we invest so much in students that come and work with us. So awareness is actually critical, and also for people to understand the majesty of an elephant. I mean, you're only going to want to protect something that you feel an emotional connection towards. So we do like sort of bolstering the beauty of elephants themselves as the largest land mammal, but also the incredible social system and how they're empathetic and how they care about each other. Which really tugs at the heartstrings.
So this is really, you've got good footage and food for social media, I assume. So like you said, the big Facebook page, and so that must be very important for what you're doing.
Yes, yes.
I also see you've got quite a bit of community outreach, and how important is it for you to integrate with the community, and what do you do in terms of community programs?
Yeah, it's very, very important because, you know, a lot of communities, and especially in South Africa, surround these protected areas. So they need to understand the value of living with wildlife and also the incredible ecosystem services that we actually get from nature. And that's clean water and fresh air. And, you know, there's a whole lot of things. For instance, even just our bee project really proves that you can make money by appreciating the pollination services of bees, and you can also protect your crops. Dr. Lucy King started that with Save the Elephants. But what we specifically do is we've got two educational programs that we're very involved in, and the one is with Wild Shots Outreach. That's an NGO that teaches young people how to take wildlife photography photos, or photography actually in general. So we like to combine the idea of people being educated about nature, and at the same time they sharpen their skills in terms of photography. And that's been quite a win-win because it's not just a passive game drive experience, it's actually learning something about the environment, but at the same time improving your own skills, your own communication skills through photography. And then we've also got a program we call the Ndlovu Gogo program, which means elephant grandmother. And that's where we take the grandmothers that are the backbone of society in these communities, and we introduce them to some of the elephants that we've been tracking for 15 plus years. And it's just so incredibly heartwarming to see how these grandmothers appreciate meeting an elephant, because some of them meet them for the first time even though they've carried the surname Ndlovu, which is elephant in Shangaan. And they, of course, as the storytellers, go back to the community and tell their grandchildren and their children about the wonderful experience that they had with elephants alive and learning about the ecological importance of elephants.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. What an amazing story. So, Michelle, I mean, we've all been uprooted by the coronavirus, and you know, it's forced everyone to rethink. I think every organization to rethink their business model and to come up with new ideas. What are your thoughts on this, and how has it changed the way you are doing things? Is it going to change the way you're doing things?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think with COVID, everybody realizes that we're in for a really difficult economic time, and that makes conservation areas very vulnerable, because to poor people surrounding protected areas, you know, those conservation areas are viewed as a food basket. So we've certainly, we've got a program that we're going to be starting with the Black Mamba anti-poaching units. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're the all-female poaching unit here in one of the private reserves, Baluli Private Nature Reserve. And they are the ears and the eyes on the ground, protecting the rhinos and the various other animals that we study. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach these Black Mamba ladies to farm bees so that they can learn another skill, which they can also take back to their community. But at the same time, they can learn about running small businesses and how to get money from harvesting honey and making lip balm, making wax wrap, making honey-infused soaps. And we're also going to teach them to farm with like horticulture, so that they can grow their own food, because food security is probably going to become one of the most burning issues. And that's why we want to address that as soon as possible. But we feel that, you know, by teaching people that are actually working or connected to the protected areas, you're ensuring the safety of the protected areas and reinforcing the value of protected areas in terms of survival and ecosystem services.
Wow, so it's all about collaboration with everyone. I think that's a new world. So if people are sitting out there, listeners, or listening to this, and they think they want to get involved or they want to contribute or donate, how can they do that?
Yes, we'd really, really appreciate that. So, I mean, if you're an overseas person, it's very easy to donate on PayPal, whatever amount. I mean, we love getting the messages that go with that. And just as an example, I spoke about our tracking elephant study. It costs about $20 per month for us to get the download per elephant collar on where that elephant is. So if somebody donates $20, it actually means a lot to us. So yes, you can show your support for what we're doing and for the environment by making a donation. You can also ask us questions on Facebook. You can like our page, you can share our page, and you can also just personally do your bit for the environment, whether you think it's small and insignificant. Because there's so many people on this earth, it actually really does add up, and it's a huge ripple effect. And if that's just separating your rubbish, you've already contributed, and we'd appreciate that. So yes, donations, we would be most grateful, but also spreading the word about how important it is for you to know that there are still elephants on this planet, and what a privilege and a blessing that is.
Michelle, how do people get hold of you? Your website and your social media, are those the best ways?
Yes, that's the best way, or they can email info@elephantsalive.org, and then we pick up those emails as well.
Awesome. We'll put all these links in the description. Michelle,
Thank you.
One message, if you have one message for somebody sitting at home and you want to make an impact on the environment, what would that message be?
Well, I would say to realize that we can't be passive about the environment anymore. I mean, I think more than ever, it's quite clear that our survival depends on how we treat the planet and, you know, all the animals that are on this planet. And when it comes to elephants, I mean, there's so much good that they actually do in terms of spreading seeds, in digging wells, in needing open spaces. And through that, you know, they create places where we get fresh air and clean water. So I would say just be aware and conscious of how vulnerable we are and how we are actually linked to the environment. We're not separate from it. I think the more people can realize that, the better off we'll be.
Awesome. Michelle, thank you so much for spending time with us and talking about it. I mean, you're doing such a great job in protecting these magnificent animals. And, you know, hopefully we'll see some more iconic elephants roaming around Africa soon. Yeah, thanks for spending the time. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for listening to today's show. We are grateful for everyone listening to our podcast and appreciate your interest in saving our planet. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on the links below. It would also be extremely helpful if you could share the show and all your links with your friends and family. Bless all of you and bless our earth.